Hello, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Eddie Marcus, spokesman and advocate for basic human rights for all people. Meaning, I want you because the Creator wants me and every last one of you to live on this earth as though you're living in heaven. I know this, and I am given the responsibility of sharing that information with you. And I hope you accept it. My motto is, thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven. I have reached out to everybody who could find a reason to listen to this program, to listen to this voice. I cannot say without doubt that while having spent 30 years on this path, that there are a handful who has said, yes, I'm for that. What am I speaking about? I'm speaking about peace. I'm speaking about prosperity. I'm speaking about joy for every last one of the people here on this earth. Men, women, children, black, white, doesn't matter. But you know, since that hasn't happened, I gotta try to see if I can understand why. I was thinking about how would I like to summarize this subject-wise. And I thought about money or no money. And I thought that might rub some of you kind of badly. And then I thought about, Father, forgive them, for they know not what they do. And I concluded that that would probably rob you, at least some of you, badly. And so to be fair, I think I'll speak on the subject matter, crash. Now, ladies and gentlemen, you hear me say I've been out here for 30 years. What do you think my experience has been in these 30 years? First of all, I want to speak basically to people who are sane, people who don't have their minds made up. If there's going to be any change in America, it will come from you. Because people who got their minds made up are not interested. Who are those people that got their minds made up? Well, first, I would like to say that many of them are people who believe in the Founding Fathers and the Constitution. The Founding Fathers serves as their God. The Constitution serves as their rule book. And I ask you, as I ask myself, why could that be so? Founding Fathers are men who came from another country. They came over here looking for something that did not belong to them. In the process, they ended up confiscating land that was inhabited by others by force, killing them to take that land. Their female population didn't have any rights. And then there were others who were of a different so-called race because of their color, who were treated less than human, who were referred to less than human, who couldn't get the treatment that they gave their animals. They called them slaves. And yet there were others who were of the same species as the white men, but they didn't have money. And so they were cast out as well. And these men decided to come up with a bunch of laws that were supposed to govern men with money from other men with money. Women, other races and genders didn't even count. You weren't even in the picture. You weren't even in the consideration. And so these laws we call the Constitution of the United States. And these men have been dead for hundreds of years. And being dead for this long, we people in contemporary times still adhere to the principles that they set forth. And to adhere to such is like, in this day, putting stone wheels on your car. or believing that the earth is still flat. But there are those of us who do that. So I'm not talking to that group of people. And you know who you are. Then there are those who call themselves lovers of God. They split themselves up into thousands of denominations, speaking from the text, the word of the Bible, God. Some are Protestants, others are Catholic. There's no love between them. They all got it right, but they cannot cross over and show any love. But they're talking about the same God. Some say there are many ways to God. There is no way to God that leaves out love. Yes, some of these same people who call themselves professors and lovers of God, they sit on the political spectrum on the right with conservatives, Republicans. There are some that sit on the left with liberal, so-called Democrats. And there's another group that has arisen, call themselves Tea Partiers. I don't know where they stand. But neither of them can see eye to eye. And God is sitting in you on both sides of the fence. I have said to you, a God divided is no God at all. But yet, these people, the church, the Christians, the lovers of God, whatever name they may fall under, people who love the Constitution, they make sure that they keep fairness, they keep justice out of the society. It's not allowed. I remember once in the early 90s, there were a group of gangbangers who were running around doing all kinds of things. You know what they do. And I felt in my heart to go and try to meet with them and tell them that their powers were misdirected and that with the mindset as they had, that they could accomplish much if they focused in the right direction. And I set up a meeting with the leader. And having gone over to meet with the leader, I was approached by a preacher who had associated himself with the gangs. And his first question to me, the preacher, who I didn't even go to see, was, do I know my Bible? We got to go and argue about Scripture. I didn't go there to talk about Scripture. I went there to talk about some fairness, some peace, and some justice. Minding to say, I didn't end up having that conversation. I took with me a gentleman who I had met at a gathering. He was a white guy, and he had listened to my conversation. He wanted to be associated with it, so he went with me. The gang leader didn't force the issue. He decided not to speak with me, but he pulled me to the side and said he would, had I not brought the white guy with me. Now, I didn't get a chance to talk with this brother and share with him the information that I wanted to share with him. Needless to say, a few years later, the leader was arrested for killing a police officer, and I believe he has life and is still in prison. I also had an occasion where I came to my city, my hometown, where I live at now at least, in Woodbury, Minnesota. And in Woodbury, we got mostly white ministers and preachers out here. So I had been corresponding with them through emails and talking about peace and prosperity and joy and God and love and how to bring peace and unity. And I wanted to get them together. We all meet at the library on a given day, and we talk about this and see what could be done. And needless to say, on the day that we were scheduled to meet, I went to the library, and I was the only one there, not a single preacher. I also had an occasion where once I was running for public office, I said, well, if I put God's voice in the political arena, and I'm fortunate enough to get, the vote, I'd go in and I would speak for peace. I'd speak for prosperity. I'd speak for joy for all of the American citizens because I ran for president of the United States. And as I would go to churches to try to speak with those who gather together once a week, twice a week, 3 times a week, prayer, Bible study, and service, to talk to them, to let them know God had put a man out here. Do you know I couldn't get in? Preachers would tell me the government is against that. They could not allow the government would not allow me to come in. They'd have to be persecuted. They would probably lose their tax privileges. So who is running that church? It's definitely not God. I don't care how big, how thick the Bible is. It's definitely not God. So I lost out on that end. And yet, I have been championing the streets, speaking to everyone I possibly can, doing videos such as this. Not to sell, but to give them away. Trying to associate myself with other organizations who've been out here struggling, like the NAACP, the Urban League, who themselves had to turn away. Council on Black Minnesotans. They receive government funding. And to receive government funding means they have to follow the rules of the government. And the government is not concerned about peace and prosperity and joy for all of you. So I could not get any support that way. And what have I been trying to say to you? You know what your concerns are. You're crying all the time. For the past, I've been here in this world for about 61 years. The same cry, continuous. These cries will continue, except they're getting worse now. They're getting louder now. The pain is deeper. And yet, the people are still sticking to the mold. Right now, gas prices are $4 a gallon, just about everywhere. Now, a person who was putting, when gas prices was $1, who could only put $2 or $3 worth of gas in their car at a time, now can't even buy a gallon of gas. So they're walking, catching the bus, but the bus prices are going up. So what does that mean? That means there's going to be a lot of crime, a lot of violence. But then, according to the people, that's okay. They're not ready for the change. Now, when I speak about change, ladies and gentlemen, I'm talking about fairness. I'm talking about justice. What are those things that are most common to all of us? First of all, we want to do what we want to do. And what more joy and satisfaction than you get, or can you get, from out of doing what you want to do? All of us has been given a desire to do something. Being here in the body, we want to participate, play a part in creating whatever is out here so we can benefit from it. And not only that, but our life has purpose. We can not just sit around idle, get fat, ugly, old, without living. I say to you, we should all have a career of choice. Being that the Creator that made you put that desire in you, then you want to do it. That way you get a chance to do the things that you want to do. And out of that doing, we would create a reservoir whereby goods and services that we as a people have concluded are most essential for our pleasure here in this life would be in such a magnitude, in such an abundance that each of us could take from it. Now, what are some of those things? Education. Education is designed to help and assist individuals to be better at whatever it is they have been given to do. Who amongst you are not entitled to an education if you want it? So education is for everyone. Another is health care. Everybody want to be healthy. They don't want to be sick, even if they do things to get them sick. They don't think they'll get sick, and if they find out that they got sick anyway, they want to get well as quick as possible and refrain from getting sick again. So health care is a thing that each and every last one of us desire at the time of need. Now, the knowledge of health care comes from the same one that gave you your hair or your lack of hair. And what is it for? It is for everybody that needs it. Now we got educated people, healthy people who are doing what they want to do. And what are they wanting to do? Look around and see. What are they creating? They are creating energy sources. They are creating cars, transportation, private and public. They are creating homes, condominiums, and some of the best houses. They're creating museums. They are creating every structure that is being built out here. They are doing it. What else are they doing? They are creating fashion so you can look good based upon where your mind takes you. They're creating food. Everything that we as a people have determined was essential for our living, they are doing it. And you know what, ladies and gentlemen? Everything so far did not cost any money. See, the money is a scheme that came in from those who want to deny God. Now, I'm not blaming anybody here on earth, in America at least. That stuff was set up before we got here. The thing that I'm blaming America for is keeping it going. You got to have the money, they say. Well, see, they came up with that scheme because the one who says you got to have the money is the one that's making the money. And the one that's making the money is determining and deciding what it is they will allow you to do. So you're doing what they want you to do. And they are paying whatever wages they want to pay for whatever they want to pay. Why do you think athletes are making hundreds of millions of dollars while the teacher is making $40,000? Because they want to keep you dumb and ignorant and put your focus on playing games, something that will not threaten them. But it's okay because they know the athlete's going to give the money right back to them. It's not going out in the community to do you any good. And if it goes out as a charitable contribution, that's not doing you any good because you're still destined to live in poverty, destined to live a life of hell. Now that's what you get from dealing with the system the way it is. Now you have heard me say that since God didn't institute money and that man did, that maybe we should just kick money out of the picture. But asking you to kick money out of the picture is like asking black people to leave America and go back to Africa. It's not happening. I realize that. It's not going to happen. So what I suggest to the people and to you is that we restructure how we use money. First of all, we take the profit motive out of money. We take the interest motive out of money. We take the credit association out of money. In other words, you are paid for a particular reason. And that reason is so that you can go to the reservoir of goods and services, whether they are stores or whatever, and access those goods with some money without having to keep a documentation on what you got. Now the question becomes how much money you get. Well, what is fair? I ask you this. What job is much more important than any other job? Is a doctor's job more important than a clean toilet? I should say not, because you can walk out of a doctor's office, pass by a clean toilet, and get sick all over again. So to me, you get the toilet clean first. But you say it takes more experience, take more training to become a doctor than it does to clean a toilet. Well, I say you do what you want to do. If you want to be a doctor, it's because you got the abilities. You got the smarts to be able to get that knowledge. But that's not all you got. Most of all, you got a heart to help people, to keep people well, and to make sure that they can always be healthy. That's your number one concern. That's your payment, having the ability to do it, and the resources to do it, the need to do it, and the opportunity to do it. Money is just gravy on the top. And if that's the case, then your job is no more important than that man who just can't stand funk. Can't stand to see a nasty, filthy toilet. Or someone who can't stand to see leaves and grass all over the yards, paper and stuff all down the streets, garbage scattered everywhere. They can't see it because it's against a clean, beautiful, wonderful city. And that's what they see in their minds of heart. Beautiful, clean, wonderful cities. And if they can see that for you to make sure that you have the most beautiful, wonderful place to live at, then why shouldn't they be paid the same thing that you're paid? I agree. They should. And being paid the same thing for each job that is done brings everybody to the same level. Anybody can go out and get anything that they want from the markets, and they don't have to be poor. They don't have to borrow and get a loan. They can have exactly what they want. You might have a Cadillac and somebody got a Ford, but it's because it's what they want. And they were able to pay for it, and they don't owe anyone anything except their service to humanity. Now, tell me, ladies and gentlemen, can you see anything wrong with that? I bet you can. You got to be liberated. You got to be sane to see nothing wrong with that, to see fairness in that, to see justice in that. And if you're caught up, a constitutionalist, one who thinks your nation is the greatest nation on the face of the earth, one who thinks your God is the God and the only God, one of you who are filled with nothing but lowdown and hate, no, you are not for this. You never will be for this. But I'm telling you, ladies and gentlemen, all over the world, this is a new nation. But there are nations that have been out there for thousands of years before this nation ever arose. And those nations are going through some hard times because they have been living like this for a long time. What I'm trying to get you to see is that you can change and you can forego all that tsunamis, as it were, that other nations are going through. But you can bet your last money, nature didn't choose them and not you. Nature is nature. And it will definitely, surely come before us. The question is, will we be ready for the tsunamis of life? Will we be prepared so it can go over us like a little windstorm? Will we be prepared? Or will we still be running around here taking advantage of other people, creating reasons for war? Will we be like other people, running around here causing violence, creating the atmosphere for lying, cheating, and stealing, and killing, and prostitution, and drug dealing? Will we still be like other people, husbands against wives, wives against husbands, children against families, families against children, races against races? And believe you me, in this holistic nation of America, we still got white people on the other side of a church and black people on another side of the church who can't come together. But they're talking about the same God. Do I have to say more to get you to understand that this is all a bunch of junk? I know for those of you who are holier than thou, to hear me say it's junk just makes you want to pick up a gun and come shoot me. But I want you to think about that. You thinking about picking up a gun, thinking about come shooting me. And you are representing your God. I want you to think about that. But what am I talking to you about? I'm talking to you about peace. I'm talking about your joy. For 30 years I've been out here, ladies and gentlemen. Let me tell you something. I used to be like you, so I'm not going to try to condemn you. I used to want fame and glory. I used to want to do anything required to get it. And I was doing pretty good. I was doing pretty good. I guarantee you if I had stayed on that road, if I was still alive, I'd be one of the richest black men around. But I saw something else that was more important. I saw pain and suffering all around me. And I saw what caused that pain and suffering. Maybe you don't, but I do. And I couldn't turn a blind eye to it. I have to offer no apologies for that. Why? Because the creator that made this body right here put something in my heart that felt the pain. I didn't just look at you who are poor and say, you're poor. I felt your pain. Those of you who are happy and joyous, I feel your happiness. I feel your joyousness. But I got reason to reach out because I know how to get out of that rut if you would only listen. Let me tell you, ladies and gentlemen, I'm not trying, let me say this again, to condemn you. Because I'm just like you. If I were not like you, I would be dead today. But you have found some reason to say that it's okay for me to keep on living. And you have said that because you're not threatened by what I'm saying. It is having no effect on you. When I go around and talk to people about making changes, they look at me the same way slaves did when Harriet Tubman came along and said, let's get out of here. They said, where are we going? We fine, as Malcolm X would say. They didn't want to leave. They had comfort in the filth that they were living in. Why? Because they knew nothing else. They came up out of the cradle as a slave, as a black man that was a slave. And all they knew is that was the way that black people lived. They didn't know anything about liberation. White people, they came out as slave masters, even the poor ones. And when you start talking about freedom for others and living a life that's free from that, they didn't understand it. They figured you was a different color and you had to be under their feet, under their control. That's the way it has been since we've been here. And it is the duty and the responsibility of those who know about God to tell you they got to break that mold. But who's telling you to break that mold? You go to church, ain't that preacher telling you that you should stand up, that God is not against the system? What do they tell you? They tell you that the Bible says, obey those that got rule over you. Obey the government. And out the other side of their mouth, they'll tell you no man can obey two gods. But yet, you are supposed to believe that you're serving God when you're obeying the state. You're supposed to take, in this system, 90% of your money that is nothing but a trick, and use it to do everything that the world says is okay and only give God 10%. What is God going to do with 10%? That's a trick as well. God wants all of you, or none of you. I know you can't change overnight. And while I'm telling you this, I want you to think about it. I want you to think about it. And if it touches you in the right kind of way, then you start talking with others, trying to discover what avenues of action you can take to do something about this. And you will find that you'll have to get another type of politician. Politicians don't work for you. They work for special interests. Politicians work for the people who made the money. Made the money. That's who they work for. You think they work for you? Look, your vote does not even count. Do you realize that those founding fathers that you call gods created something called, what do they call it? Electoral college. They decide who is the one that goes into office. Your vote is just a camouflage to make you think that you got a part in the process. You don't have a part in it. Ask George Bush and Al Gore. Just ask them. You don't have a part in it. That's a front. And yet you think that you got it going on. Many of you are losing your homes now. Many of you more will lose your homes when these electric bills come out after this winter thing is over. But you'll blame somebody. You might blame your community. You might blame your husband or your wife. But I guarantee you, you won't blame the system. And if you blame it, you won't do anything about it. And if you go to your church and ask them for it, they say, well, you didn't pay your tithes, so we don't have anything to give you, a little support base. This is the biggest bunch of crap I ever faced in my life. But I'm thankful, I'm very thankful that today I can look you in your eye, even though you can't look back, and tell you exactly what I've said. And there's no shame in my game. Right now I got to pull off this suit, go out there and work on my wife's car, because it's all broke down and she needs it for her job.
Come in.
And yet,
Come in.
that's the life that we have been given. And I don't like it, but that's what it is right now, and I got to keep it up. Somebody's coming in, so I got to end this so I won't have that disturbance on my program, okay? Thank you so very much. This is Eddie Marcus, spokesman and advocate for basic human rights for all people. Until next time, bye-bye.